you're not gonna have two people. I haven't found two people that have had the exact same symptom set displayed. I think that a common thing I see is that pressure in the sinus area that kind of just sits there. It could go on you for up to like a month. I've heard before, and then once that pressure is kind of like alleviated, however you're treating it or not treating them, working with an individual as that. Then there's like a flood of like the runny nose and the coughing and the mucus and the fever and the body aches, and then you'll have people who are just a little bit of cough and headache, or you have another person that's just really anxious, and it's different. You can't. I haven't found two people that have had the same exact symptom presentation, and there's always that from the people that I've worked with after the recovery process, like a little lingering cough at the end that you have to kind of knock out however it is you're going to work with that person. But there's always like a little leftover cough, and then sometimes shortness of breath people are experiencing. So you kind of like work with those symptoms as they show up. So then the kids, you don't hear about the kids too much having like anything wild or crazy. If the house is infected, you have like the parents, the kids will get it too. They'll test positive, but I haven't heard too much of the kids exhibiting the symptoms other than a little bit of like stuffiness and irritability. But that's about it from what I've personally worked with. So,
yeah, that's a lot of people. What about you, Missy? How many people do you know personally that have?
I probably known like 10 people that have had it. I know one person that is was our age and passed away. He was 36 years old.
Well, I'm 21, so I don't know about.
Sorry, my age. Let's say my age.
I'm just kidding. I had to throw that in there just to liven it up a little bit. So yeah, actually, I know people who were younger than me. I know a couple of teenagers who recently had it and definitely went through the motions, whether they were young or not. So I don't really. I mean, I do feel like age is a factor, but I also don't feel like it's a huge factor because I feel like it also goes depending on your body type and everything else. So.
Well, you're hearing the people that are later, like in age, like older, that they typically have the symptoms that linger a lot longer than someone who lets it run its natural course. People like who aren't immune compromised or don't have some type of secondary disease process or infection going on, that the people more elderly tend to have a harder time shaking it off. And it's easiest to work with somebody in the earlier stages versus like towards the end, because this is different for everybody. So the fatalities, the people that have like passed away from it, from what I've heard and understand, are people that do have the compromised immune system and the different types of respiratory distress issues. They're like it just varies from person to person.
Sorry. Oops. Okay, there we go. We're not okay now. I think we're fixed. We weren't going up on Facebook just now, and it's fixed now.
Is it fixed on both sites, on all of the sites that we were?
I'm working on that right now. Little technical difficulties, but I think it's coming up now. Oh my gosh, he's blowing up my phone. I know, Ron, you're here. I do want to mention Marina Williams is on. She has had COVID and is recovering from it right now. And I really wanted to talk to her. She seems like she might be having a little rough day today. So I want to talk to her quick about what she has come across and how she ended the battle with COVID. So Marina, hi, how are you?
Hi, Marina.
Hey, Marina.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How are you feeling?
I still, even though I'm out of quarantine, I still have some major side effects like the headache I've had since November 2nd. It's just
that's
terrible.
Like a whole month today. Yeah.
I know, it's awful. I threw up for 9 days straight. I was in and out of the hospital fevers like crazy. I don't even muscle
And do
ache.
you mind if I ask, Marina, how old you are, just for the record, since we were kind of talking about ages?
I'm 41, but I do have systemic mastocytosis. So it probably affected me a little bit different.
Can you elaborate for some of our viewers exactly what that is? What diagnosis you actually have?
Yes. So like, you know how your body has cancer cells and they become active and they attack your organs, stuff like that. Well, my body has an excessive number of mast cells, and any little thing can trigger it, and the mast cells will just release, and it's like I have a huge allergic reaction to my cells. Like
Wow.
I've had, yeah, I go into like anaphylactic shock, but that's not the worst. Like it'll give me hives, and I have both topical and internal, so it affects my organs and also my skin. So when I get a flare, it's just terrible.
Wow. So it's even worse, like inflammatory wise. So you just kind of flare up just regularly already as it is, and then including this. Something that kind of stuck out with me that a lot of people don't always mention with the virus is the throwing up. A lot of people don't mention that. They always mention the loss of taste or smell, things
Yeah, I
that.
don't have either of those either.
So I think like that's something that's kind of good for you to talk about is the abdominal issues, because some people don't realize that that is connected with that virus also.
It was the worst thing ever. I don't want to get too graphic, but like the vial was coming up and like I had sores throughout my throat and mouth from all the acid. It was constant for days.
So were you afraid of like dehydration at that point? Like, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
long time, you know, like if obviously you weren't able to keep a lot of fluids down, were you put with like IV, or like what happened during that time of you having to go back and forth to the hospital?
Well, on Monday the 2nd, my husband called 911 because something just wasn't right. The amount I was throwing up, the blood, it was just terrible. Well, I went there, I got tested for COVID and everything, and I noticed my bracelet had the wrong name on it. So they fixed that. Every day I called because they said it would just take a day. And every day they said there were no results. So on Thursday, I was getting a little upset. I'm like, seriously, I need to know what I have. I'm not eating. And on Friday, I must have called 10 times before somebody told me that I had COVID, but it was flagged under the name that was on my bracelet. So, like, the whole week, I didn't know what to do. I just kept vomiting, but they didn't know why. So I just kept going in and getting hydrated.
Wow, that sounds like horrible. That's like a nightmare on top of that. Like you never really think about having your bracelets mixed up. You know, you see that stuff on movies, like when you get the wrong operation and stuff.
Yeah.
That always makes you scared, but that stuff's real. Like, I mean, there's human error when it comes to, you
Well,
know.
I had to go through an ambulance, and when my mom called to check on me, they told her I was not there and to stop harassing them.
Wow.
And your
I
mom
know.
works there.
Huh?
Your mom works at the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, they did not care at all. At all.
I'm
How
pretty sure that they might be overwhelmed too. So I'm pretty sure like some of the things that they might say or things that might go on might be from being completely overwhelmed, because all of our hospitals and clinics and all of that have had like a really, really rough time these past few months, you know?
Yeah.
yes.
It's just hard sitting in there with COVID, and it was difficult.
Well, you do look like you're getting a lot better. From what
Yeah,
I
except
hear,
for
and
this headache.
yeah, the headache, I can hear that. I know that when we spoke with someone previously, me and Nick, that like fogginess and stuff can last for like months, right, Nick?
Yeah, there's theories out there that it's actually that it attacks through the olfactory nerve, which why you have like this loss of smell and taste, all of the cranial nerves. So there could be a lot of other things that could happen, and it's just
Well, I
It's a
am
weight loss virus.
1 month. I'm 1 month into diagnosis, and I still cannot taste, smell. I still have a headache. My stomach is not totally right yet.
Well, I was actually reading an article, and it was like through Health Magazine. It was something that wasn't like technically from a doctor, although a lot of doctors do give their opinions in this, magazine. That a lot of times what happens is since those nerves for like the taste and the smell go away, like every so many months, your body regenerates those cells anyway, and that eventually the taste and the smell will come back, but it might take like up to 6 months for it to like come back fully. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's just something that I read.
Well, I sure hope it does.
For sure. Who wants to go to Thanksgiving and all the holidays with no taste or smell? This is like the best.
Right. Oh my God, right.
yeah.
Right.
How are our technical issues, Missy? Are they worked out?
Yeah. I think I fixed them. I think I got them going. So I'm here now. How like when you got it, were you able to trace it back?
For it to like.
They think that I probably got it like maybe the day before the 2nd. My symptoms started, and when they started, they were full on. Like I didn't have like just like a stuffy nose or anything like that. It was vomiting started, loss of taste, smell, the headache. Everything started all at the same time.
And you were really cautious beforehand where you wore masks every single time.
I didn't even leave my house unless I had to for the doctor. So, yes, I was very careful.
How do you propose you caught it then? Like, where do you think that you caught it?
Because I live with my husband, daughter, and my niece. And, like, for example, like my husband still had to go to work. So maybe he brought it. My niece went to work still. I don't know.
So it's hard to trace. Like there's no way to trace where you originally came into contact with it.
Right.
Wow. That's kind of scary.
It really is, because I stayed home all the time. Unless I went to the doctor and then I wore my mask. So I'm like, how do I get it?
Well, they say it's over 10 times likely to catch it than even the flu. So I assume, at this point, it's airborne. So it's like you can go
Yeah.
into the grocery store and somebody had sneezed in aisle 6 and you're in aisle 5 and you happen to walk into aisle 6 afterwards in your own little world and boom, you walk directly into the sneeze not knowing that that's exactly what they sneezed. So it's not difficult to catch, even though we're very careful. That's the whole reason that they tell and urge everybody to stay home. That was the whole reason, is because even if you are masked up, unless all your orifices are closed up, which nobody's walking in full blown masks with, stuff over the eyes and goggles, it's gonna be able to be caught.
I gotta tell you, I might have to say that the headache has been the worst for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And when it comes to now, how long do they think you're going to be immune to it? And how are you thinking that will you be one of the first people to get the vaccine or the shot?
I honestly do not know how they're gonna hand those out, but I am scared to death to catch it again because it took everything out of me, literally.
Mhm.
I've heard that several times.
Well,
I
what-
could not deal with that. It
Well,
was terrible.
one of the modalities that we tend to work with in naturopathic medicine and kind of make a recommendation. So when you have these types of headaches, especially from the virus or whatever could be the cause, some hydrotherapy is pretty effective. And what I mean by that is you could go about it one of two ways. Possibly, run a really hot bath, hot as you rate it, get your whole body into the bath water, then take a bucket and alternate 5 times of hot buckets, cold buckets, hot bucket, cold bucket. 5 I've seen people come out of their headaches with the hydrotherapy or taking cold compress. Take a few towels, wet them down really well, put them in the freezer or ice packs, whatever you have, and 4 towels, boiling water, as hot as you can stand it. 1 towel wrapped around your hand and 1 towel wrapped around your foot. At the same time, you have the cold compresses on your head, neck, and forehead. For about 15 minutes, you sit there and you could do 1 or 2 rounds. I've seen headaches with the COVID headache just kind of lift off of people. So that might be something you could try.
I'll try it, but heat has a tendency to bring up my mast cells, and it tends to give me hives.
Mm-hmm.
But I could try it because golly.
I will say, like, the alternate. So, Nick is actually my doctor also. Just for the record, y'all. So if you have any questions about Nick, I could always give you guys a referral. But he's helped me with my headaches too. So I suffer from like really major migraines, and they're hereditary. So really, there's no like getting around exactly like not having severe migraines to where I like throw up and all of that stuff. So that alternating the heat and the cold, even though you might break out with hives with heat, you're not necessarily having your full body in heat. It's like part of your body heat, part of your body's in cold. So actually the blood will kind of regulate, and it feels a little different, but it won't be like all of your blood is warm and then all of your blood is cold. It like regulates off of each other.
Well, I'm willing to try anything.
I'm sorry, somebody just chimed in that's watching and said that there's a difficult time hearing. And I hear the chirping too when you talk. I hear kind of like a chirp. I don't know if it's your microphone or
when I talk.
Yeah, when everyone talks, actually, there's like a static.
I hear a little noise when everyone talks also.
Yeah, and somebody just confirmed that who's actually watching the show.
Yeah, I'm trying on the background to fix it, and I don't know if it will happen right now.
Okay.
I'm sure. Was it Ron?
No, it was somebody that I linked with.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I
Ron
don't know.
usually
I turned the mic down a little bit. I wonder. Okay. Well, I mean, with homeopathy, I'm sorry. There are certain words that we can't say on certain platforms, and one of that being what we're dealing with during this pandemic, this virus, and then a few of the modalities that we use in naturopathic medicine that YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, StreamYard, if you even say the word, it could they shut the videos down. So there are a lot of ways to work with your virus symptoms, and I think there's something called Bryonia alba. It's really effective in helping with preventative, like it's like a prophylactic to help avoid actually getting the virus, and it helps with the headaches as well. So you can't say
I need something for this headache.
Yeah, but I've had a lot of success working with COVID these last few weeks. And it's pretty much like hit hard in the world, and it's kind of sad. But I think
yes, it is in this area is hit. And you know what, Marina, I'm gonna let you go because I think your head is just pounding and
stand it. It's making me sick to my stomach.
So I'll let you go and get some rest, and I will call you tomorrow. But thank you for sharing your story.
All right. I'm sorry. I tried.
Okay. No, you're fine. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on and talking about how you feel. And this is really a way that you can show people how it hits, because I don't think that it's hitting people.
Oh, people keep telling me it's nothing more than the flu. They are wrong. It is way more than the flu.
Yes. All right. Well, have a great night. And yeah, get some rest and we'll get Dr. Nick Duchek information for you.
That would
All
be
right.
nice. I will try anything.
You're welcome to call me. My number's at the bottom of the screen. Call me anytime.
So I don't see
Okay.
it. I don't see it going live off of my page at all. I'm looking at it.
All right.
Feel better.
Okay, let me.
I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for doing stuff like this.
For sure, for sure.
Thanks for
All
sharing.
right,
Your-
Melissa, call me tomorrow.
Yes, I will call you tomorrow.
All right, honey.
Talk to you
Thank
later.
you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Marina is, to explain a little more, she is the older sister to my middle school best friend. And I've been
Wow.
there with her through a lot of her struggles. And she's been there for me from a lot. Did it post onto your page now? I just did it again.
Let me see.
So we did
Well,
do
it's posting, but it's not going live from my page. It's only going live from yours, it looks like.
Okay.
We're having so many technical difficulties today. I apologize.
Yes, I'm sorry. So, on that note, how many people have you dealt with working with?
Me personally,
Yes, you personally.
about 7 in the last few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, like it came to my house too, and I had to quarantine for 14 days, and I immediately had to like stop working, my side job, and I had to stay in the house. I got tested immediately, and luckily, it was negative, and I got tested again 14 days later and came back negative again. And there's a lot of people that think there was like the whole idea about the blood typing and those having more of a less susceptibility to actually becoming infected. And a lot of people that I had talked to who have had it in their house and stayed negative did kind of have the old blood type, but that's nothing that, because I think that the person in my house that was infected also had the same type of blood type. So I think it's hitting people just at any time. And
Okay.
I know that Brionia that I had just mentioned, I take weekly, and the people that do take it, and I have spoken with, even people who have had it in their house, have managed to stay negative. So that's kind of a big help, and I can't say that's why. You still have to take your protective measures, but like I was fortunate. So
Yeah. I was looking up some of the facts and the updates, and I feel like every website has different numbers where you don't know what's where. And it's scary. Now, I know I talked to you earlier about my son who has an autoimmune disorder, and because I keep him locked in a dungeon, a little room in the basement where no one can go by him right now. Just kidding. Don't call social services. But I keep him very isolated, and we are very, very careful about who he goes around, what those people do. And I feel bad because I have to say to them, like, when I talk to people and they're like, well, let's do this. We couldn't do Thanksgiving. I have to say, well, who have you been around? And who have they been around? It's like I'm like the FBI. I mean, I'm already close to the CIA. If you want to know something about somebody, give me their name and I'll find it for you in a week. But people get upset when I talk to them and I say, I have to ask all of these questions. And the problem is I have my kids home right now at home learning. Trust me. Last thing I've ever wanted to do was homeschool my kids. Send them to school. That is my little bit of a break that I get from, I can talk to adults. I often, I say in my description of the show, you'll see me walking down the street chasing a neighbor saying, I only can take so much Fortnite and Paw Patrol. So having them home all the time, it's really hard. And I know that they're not getting the education that they normally would if they went there. But I just can't take that chance.
Mm. I think that there's like people, I think there's a moral, ethical component to this, because a lot of people who have been exposed, because you hear about asymptomatic carriers, like your friend was just on, that she never left the house, she doesn't know someone that brought it in who wasn't symptomatic, and you hear a lot about that, and it goes to the like wearing masks and how reckless it can be not wearing one. I think people need to keep in mind and consider that even though you're not symptomatic, you could absolutely be bringing it to somebody else and not even know it. And I think even if you heard you were exposed, I think you should absolutely go through the quarantine as fast as you can. I mean, of course, we still have to live, right? Like you have to go to the store, you might have to drop something off at your parents, but if you do, make sure you sanitize your hands, you keep your face covered, don't touch your face. It's not that hard. You have to keep the mask in your car when you're driving. You could just quick put it on when you gotta go in where you got to go and take it off. And I think that a lot of people who are exposed are being reckless. I think maybe just don't
that's
think.
something to talk about too. I mean, it's not just being reckless. I mean, how many times a day do you touch your face? They say that you touch your face like over a certain amount of times a day, and it's not hard to have your mask on and to accidentally go like this. Like that's really easy to do. You know what I mean? Like if your eye itches at school, at work, or if you're at the grocery store, and I mean, you're so used to just being able to just scratch your face and do stuff that it makes it difficult even when you wear a mask. Like you have to like, no, don't touch your face. You know what I mean? Like, and then there's like these age gaps. I'm sorry, Missy. There's like these
go ahead.
Where like, okay, so if your child is under the age of 4, they don't have to wear masks, but then those kids can be asymptomatic too and just spreading it everywhere, carrying it from one place to the next, and they're touching toys or they're touching stuff by the checkout, and they're, know what I mean? So like, and I know like I might get a lot of people saying a lot of stuff, but I'm going to say it. Like, truth be told, like my daughter's 2 and she wears a mask. When we go places, she wears, and if she can't wear a mask, then she sits, and she doesn't want to wear it, she sits in the car with one of the teenagers, or she stays at home. Like, that's just it. Like, you're not, if I have to wear a mask, you're wearing a mask too. Same thing with carts. Like, if I don't have to put her in a cart, I won't. I'll use her own stroller. Or if I do have to put her in a cart, the cart is like, I used to put a blanket down. I was putting like a blanket down and spraying this blanket every time I put it down at the grocery store. Like, it was like that severe to me. So I hear a lot of people complain. A lot of people are like, this, that, or the other. But the truth be told, like, it's not hard to catch it. It's not really hard to catch it. We can stay as quarantined as you would like to. But if you're not just staying home all the time, and even just ordering your groceries, even if you go and you order your groceries, those groceries being put into your car could potentially have the virus on it.
Yep. And I have my groceries delivered. Number one, because I've become a hermit. But number two, I don't want my husband going to the store. I don't want him near people. He has to go to work, but that's as far as it goes. And let's talk, can I just do an elephant in the room that's just driving me crazy? These people that are sitting here and saying, talking all this crap about the virus, and they're going to the fucking bars. They're going to the bars, they're dancing, they're popping their whatever. And who are they?
I pop my whatever at home all day walking around here, so I don't need to go to the bar.
I was told by my kids I was told I was not allowed to dance and sing anymore while they were present. Because I randomly have dance parties, and I make sure it's when my kids are playing like Fortnite. So, or something where like their friends are going to hear it. Like, I'm going to be that crazy mom. I don't care. I'm stuck in the house.
Yeah. I think most establishments, though, they do require you to go in with a mask. There's only been a few places that I've gone that I've seen people in there without, or like hanging halfway down, and people are really not kind of like regulating it or jumping on people. But as for these people that are going to the bars and clubs, like you see, like sometimes you go into a restaurant, like you wear the mask up until you get to your table, and you can take the mask off according to the law or whatever CDC regulations are in place now, or trying to be in place. So everyone in the restaurant doesn't have a mask on because they're sitting down, but the host and the servers have a mask on. So what if someone coughs? What if someone sneezes?
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of feel like that too. I feel like if you're gonna be, I mean, go to like empty restaurants. Like that's how I am. Like if you're gonna have to go in there and sit down for something or whatever it is that you have to do, like sometimes I pass by restaurants and they're packed and I'm like, people are still stopping like that. Like when I see a group of people, I'm like, first of all, something y'all need to know. Wait, I have to like backtrack really quick. To all of my bad moms that join in to watch Missy and myself on this show, I just want to thank y'all for all the support. So go ahead and drop a few thumbs up because I really, really want to thank y'all for this. And Nick is an awesome guy, so drop a few thumbs for him too, okay? But what I wanted to say is like when I'm just like I was already a little bit of a germaphobe prior to the virus. Now I feel like I'm a psychotic, like I am like American Psycho. Remember how clean he was?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is like me. Like now it's like to the point where I'm like, no, don't touch anything. Don't touch, like you do not want me at your house.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes. You can come
no,
clean my house
no,
any day you want.
my cups have to be a certain way. Like OCD done did it to me. Okay, like counters. Like I'm over here like scraping across. Like you sure you cleaned the counter? Like my kids know I will go like across the top edge because if there's dust, it has not been cleaned.
You can come over to my house any day and clean.
But truth be told, I mean, Missy, but as much as I clean, it doesn't even matter. I could step outside and my freaking neighbor have sneezed and the wind said shoom and went right past me and now I caught COVID.
Right.
Like
I think the best way to work, it's not necessarily you're treating the virus, right? You're kind of treating your personal constitution, who you are, like your spirit, your life force, your being, your immune system. Because depending on your constitution, individually, we each have different constitutions, kind of like dictates the susceptibility of you contracting the virus. I think, I don't want to say my constitution's strong, but to be quarantined in the house with somebody for 2 weeks that was positive and to still come out, because that's what I was doing, a lot of the cleaning and stuff. But there's only so much that you can do. You still have to kind of, so treating the person's constitution, I think, is the way to kind of target this pandemic.
So let me ask you this: by you saying that, you're saying that it's mind over matter?
No, well, no, that's not what I'm saying.
To a certain degree, right? Like to a certain degree, like if you're positive and you're productive, and
that, yeah, like the mind is very powerful, and the mind can do many things, more than people think. But at the same time, we're still human. We have to take precautions. I think that even a lot of those people out there who are like the faith healers, right, the ones that have run up the churches and they're like, we're not going to catch it, we're healers, and then the next day it shuts down because everyone was positive and a couple of them dropped dead. Like, it's not funny, but like you could have that faith and mentality, but there's still, like that's not always like, mine is definitely say powerful. I absolutely think that you're going to get through this and always have a positive train of thought and positive mindset. That's really important. But your constitution, meaning just who you are, like how you just metabolize, just your constitution, who you are as a human being, like your strength, your immune system, like your spirit, your life force, people that
what do you think causes people to have higher immunities? Like, do you think it's genetic always, or do you think that it is a lot of like positive force of attitude and mindset?
What do you like, people who that have like a stronger immune system, you're saying?
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, it just depends. I think genetics can play a big part in that. Some people just aren't as strong immune system wise, like versus other people. But then you have people that also do take really good care of themselves too, and supplement and make sure that their body has everything it needs. They're hydrated, their proper diet. They don't abuse alcohol. They don't have compromised organ systems. Mental emotional instability can really cause problems in people, and maladaptive stress stages. comorbidities like diabetes, and then you got the immune compromised people. Like I think the people that are fighting this off and kind of staying, negative on their tests and being immune are people that take care of their health and take precautions and follow the CDC guidelines to the best of their ability and have a strong constitution, a strong being. They're not under. It's different for everybody, but I think just taking care of your health and following precautionary measures plays a big part in kind of fighting this virus. And there's other modalities that you could incorporate into it. Like the big one was the zinc and the vitamin D, and in the beginning it was the zinc, the vitamin D, which absolutely help you reduce your risk of contracting the virus and even fighting it off quicker. And then there was the elderberry, the sambucus, that you would use as a preventative.
Man, that elderberry was sold out everywhere.
But
Even zinc and elderberry was gone.
Yeah, but then you have to know that if you become infected with it, elderberry is actually contraindicated. It can make your process worse. So you have to be careful when it comes to this kind of thing as well.
And that's something I don't think a lot of people knew. As
No.
people were buying this elderberry, and I wonder how many people stayed on elderberry even after contracting the virus, not knowing that they were making it possibly or potentially a lot worse.
And
With the cytokine storm, that kind of is part of the inflammatory process. So it helps you kind of not contract the virus, get sick from it. But once you become infected, then you need to stop taking elderberry. That's probably
and that's something that you would look into your type of doctrine, where you would you would look for that guidance. You can't diagnose yourself. You need somebody that has the education in it, and you need to understand. And I hate the people that say, I had a guy one time tell me that it doesn't matter if you wear a mask or not, because everything is germs. But here's the thing. If somebody told me, and I've posted on my Facebook, to jump 10 times before the sun rises backwards in front of my house, and it would keep my children or anyone else safe, I'm setting my alarm for days.
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't realize that. And it's the compassion. I'm just so fed up with the compassion that people are lacking right now because they're uncomfortable in masks. How uncomfortable is it when somebody
I can agree with that, to some extent on both ends. There are some pros and cons to wearing a mask and doing everything that we're doing, as in sanitizing and stuff like that. Something that my other doctor, which is my gynecologist, Dr. Pay, but we had this conversation. I have good conversations when I'm going for my annuals, you guys. Okay.
I bet.
Yes. So anyway, but no, truth be told, when I was talking to him, he's like, Elaine, we don't wear masks for ourselves. We wear masks for other people, for the other people who get sick easier or have autoimmune disease or have, HIV or, just anything that they can possibly have that would, debilitate them being able to get over something. You know what I mean? So, when he said that to me, I'm like, that's really true. I don't wear a mask necessarily just for myself. You know what I mean? But I know, even with talking with Dr. Nick, right? Even me and him having these conversations and him knowing, I get sick only once every 4.5, 5 years, right? I don't get sick often. So he basically was like, Elaine, you could be a super spreader. You could be the motherfucker that's walking around the store spreading that shit around because you don't get sick. So you would never have symptoms even if you caught it, right? So even when he told me that, you told me that after Dr. Pay did. And I'm like, you know what? That's very true. So I don't wear the mask for myself. Even though it does still protect me if someone else is around, I wear it for other people. So now with that being said, us all also having to wear masks, you know, it also kind of is like a pro and con, because then it's like, well, what about our immunity too? Like we could be potentially shutting down our own immunity a little bit with all of the cleaning and lysoling consistently, because now we're stopping our immune system from other germs that we need to continue to build it up. So I feel like there's a lot of pros and cons to it. It's just that some people have to understand, like, the virus is new to everybody, right? Like, we haven't been through a pandemic like this, and I mean,
Since
we've never been.
1919.
Yeah, we've never been. So, like, maybe our grandparents or even our great great grandparents, those are the last people that we could talk to, knowing what it is that they went through, right? Like, what it is that they had to do, so on and so forth. I just feel like, as you know, we've grown as Americans, and even the world has grown a little bit. We've all gotten a little bit, you know, kind of spoiled and lazy with some of the things that we're able to do. So it feels like it's such a huge thing for us to have to stay home, because we're used to going to clubs and bars and drinking and socializing and skating rinks, and now junk monkey joes with the kids because they can run off this energy. And you know, in 1918 they didn't have that shit. You went to work, you went home, and you went to school, and then you worked on the farm, or you did something like that. There wasn't as much, so they probably didn't have such a hard time. But then at the same time, like I tell my kids too, imagine going through this pandemic in the 90s, y'all, like when dial up was a thing, and you had to, like, I can dial up to get on the computer, and if someone else was on the computer in the house, it took your computer. Like, you can still stay in touch with your friends, you can video chat, you can do things like this now and go live and still be able to have that social interaction. So when people are like, I don't have any social interaction, I'm like, go live on Facebook. I go live on Facebook all the time to talk junk, and it relieves me of my non-social having life. Okay, I get on there, I talk a little bit of shit, and then everybody's like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then I get off. You know what I mean? Like, at least we're going through this pandemic with all of this social media, with everything, that we can still stay connected with each other. So, I mean, there's like a lot of pros to look at it and a lot of positivity. Now, everything's closed on Thanksgiving. That hasn't been like that in years. I don't think that Walmart closed down since like 1990 was the last time Walmart closed down. So if you think about it, people have spent more time with their friends. You know what I mean? I mean, with their friends, with their family instead of their friends. People have spent more time eating dinner at the table. People have spent more time cooking than going out to eat. Like, there's a lot of pros to look at instead of it just being such a negative thing.
Yes. So true. So true.
But do you have I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, the statistics on COVID, I'm sorry, viral versus, and mortality versus influenza, like the yearly flu infection and mortality rates, like comparing.
Well, I will not compare it to the flu. Because yes, people die from the flu, but there's a vaccine for the flu that you can take every year. And yes, it might be just an estimate, but you know what? I know somebody that didn't get the flu shot, and it seems like every year they get the full flu. It's it's like playing Russian roulette. We don't have anything for this. When it was,
So do you take the flu shot, Melissa?
I do get the flu shot every year.
You, Nick?
I did one time because it was free when I was volunteering at the hospital. So I was like, I'll get it. And then I got the little flu, like 24-hour thing after. I think it was just kind of psychosomatic type thing. It was like
they were like, you're going to sweat and feel sick, and then you went home and you sweated.
everyone's like, I always have the flu shot, I get the flu. And I was like, well, I got it. And then, I felt like I had the flu maybe for hours, and then I was fine. I don't know. Maybe it was the flu, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was full.
I don't get it. And I'll tell you the truth. I don't get the flu shot, and I don't give it to my family. I just don't. I have had the flu. My daughter had the H1N1 when it was like first here, and it was like this big thing, and people were dying from it at that point in time. And she was 1.5 years, and she was hospitalized. And I will say that my family might catch colds and stuff, but we don't typically always catch the flu. But I also don't get it because just in my mind, I'm like, if I'm going to catch it, I'm going to catch it. The flu is more likely to recover from the flu with less symptoms. I think what makes the other virus that we're talking about, a little more scary is the fact that we don't know necessarily all that it does because it's new. You know what I mean? Like it's new,
Yes.
so we don't know everything that the after effects, like at least we know like, oh, the flu will subside within 7 days ish. You know what I'm saying? Symptoms are
Yes.
done within 4 to 5. Then you probably still have a few more 7 days and then you're pretty much back at it. That next week it's a little rocky, but then you're good. You know what I mean? As to where
Yeah.
when it comes to this virus, like people are complaining of symptoms like months later. Like so it makes it a little more scary also.
I remember when H1N1 come out, and since this is Mom's show, I'm going to tell a little story about it. I was working at Target in Franklin. It was my first pregnancy, and I had a lot of issues getting pregnant, period. Took us 8 years. And I went to my doctor at the time, and I said, I can afford to stay home. Can you please put me on rest or something? Because the schools that were closing, because it was mostly kids at that point that got it, can you keep me home to keep my baby and my safe? And he said no. And I said, okay. I said, well, what's going to happen to me if I get the flu, this flu? And he said, well, if you get it, your baby dies and you'll recover. My husband was in the room when he said that, and he almost jumped over the examination table. And I fired my doctor and found another. I feel like doctors sometimes don't realize that patients aren't doctors and they're scared. And it's not.
I mean, I can agree and disagree with that. Every doctor is different for everybody. Everybody perceives information differently. I kind of feel because even my doctor, Dr. Pay, he's been my doctor
I've
since I
heard
was
really
16.
good things about him.
Well, and I have a really good friend who had a problem conceiving, and she was very sensitive about conceiving, and she had a miscarriage. Well, she had she had a miscarriage. It was like a weird name for it, and I don't want to go into detail too much because it's not my story to tell. But basically, he was like, like how he told you, like, oh, well, the baby's dead, so let's just move on with this. And she felt like it was very insensitive, and maybe it was, you know what I mean? Maybe it was for him to say it that way because he's a medical, he's a doctor, and he's like, okay, like this is now the steps that we have to follow. It's kind of like protocol, and they see it so much that I feel like sometimes it might seem a little desensitized.
Mhm.
But it's never coming from like a bad place. Typically, doctors are, they're human, so they're there to treat you. And then sometimes they have off days where they might say the wrong shit, but it's not because they're like horrible doctors. It's because they're human. It's called human error. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people, even like when it comes to nurses or even people who are phlebotomist and they can't find your vein, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. People are so harsh on them sometimes, but I'm like, dude, they're human beings. Like, you make, like, I remember working and making mistakes at work that I didn't want to make, but I made them. You know what I mean? So I just
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times, like, doctors do try. Now, there are some asshole doctors, like there are some doctors that I've been like, hold on a second, like who, and I feel like dentists are more worse about it than doctors are. Dentists are like not trained to have any bedside manner. They're like, okay, let's pull a tooth, let's go,
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel what you're saying. I do. I just feel like sometimes people are just so hard on professionals because they expect you to be 100% professional all the time. When really like you're human. So it's like hard. It's hard to always just maintain that professionalism and not sometimes let your humanity kind of come out a little bit.
I
Doctors
agree.
sometimes are like, oh fuck, they want to say it sometimes when they look at nasty shit too, but they can't.
Yes. Yes. We're gonna wrap this, the oops, almost said it, the virus talk. We're gonna also talk about some things that can help, as in masks. And I am gonna put you, Dr. Nick, into the green room for a minute, and I am going to pull up Jenny Dieter.
Hey,
I probably said
Jenny.
her.
She's been waiting so
Hi.
patiently.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm knitting while I'm waiting. It's so good.
Oh, nice. What are you knitting?
Working on another hat. So
Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. That's definitely
Good,
cool.
because I brought mine out too. We want to talk about your Etsy site and what you are making to help with the mask wearing.
yeah. I make I have like hats and ear warmers that are made with buttons like for your ears, like where your ears go.
Oh, yeah.
So
Like
instead
ear
of,
savers, right?
yeah, except they're like built into hats and
There we
ear
go.
warmers. So that,
yeah.
you know,
I've seen those.
yeah. So when you're running errands or something like that, you know, and you have your hat on, or if you've got, you know, your cute messy bun and your ear warmer or something like that, instead of messing with taking, taking that off and back on, you just pop your mask over the little buttons on the side, and you're good to go.
And
You
how
know,
much?
I like that too, just because of earrings. I don't know if
Right.
I don't know if anybody's a hoop wearer, but I wear a lot of hoops, and you know, the ear, like the things with the buttons actually help, so that way your earrings can like flow a little easier.
Right. And like you were saying about, you know, like little kids, you know, it's a lot easier for them to maybe handle a mask if they're, you know, if they're wearing a hat, you know, and they're in the car and running errands, and you can just kind of, all right, we're just gonna, boop, you know, just pop it right on, and you know, it's one
Yeah.
less maybe thing to mess with, or to bother you with your ears, or
And
so.
you make custom ones. So if somebody has like, and I'm not saying any names because he's probably listening right now, an extremely large head or somebody who has an extremely small head, you would make them custom. They would just have to contact you through your Etsy site.
Yep. Through Etsy, or we also have a Facebook site as well.
What is your Facebook page?
It's Hello Banana Creations.
Okay, now you have to tell me how you came up with that name.
It was from years, you know, I don't want to age myself too much.
It was from 2002. No, I'm just kidding.
It was just a little while ago, when I was in college. I was in choir, and our choir was invited to take our festival to China, to a sister university in China. And so when we were there were this one area of vendors, and they had carts full of bananas and oranges. And they saw this big group of Americans, and they're just yelling. They're saying, "Hello, hello, banana, banana, hello, hello, banana." That's all they would yell at us, is "Hello, banana."
So
just
funny.
kind of like, here, look at what I have to sell for you. It's a banana. Please look at my banana. You know, hello, banana. And I don't know. It just kind of stuck with me as a funny little call to attention of what you have is hello, banana. So.
And how did you think of selling these and with the buttons?
It was kind of, I was thinking, the idea kind of came to me in the summer, actually, which is a weird time to think of hats. But I was kind of thinking about, hey, you know, if my kids go back to school, you know, and I have a younger son, I'm like, how is this going to work at recess? You know, is he going to drop his mask on the playground 15 times and it fall in a mud puddle, or fall in the snowbank and someone step on it, and then he's going to put it back on his face? I was like, I don't like that idea. And so I was like, you know, there has to be a way to sew it onto a hat or do something. And I was like, well, like, yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. And so I started making a couple different prototypes for sizes and fits, and Then I was telling a few people about it and they were interested. And so I'm like, well, maybe this is a thing. So, and
Okay.
That's really cool. That is really
it's,
cool.
Yeah.
Actually, how old are your kids?
I have one who's going to be 17 really, really soon. And then my younger son is 9.
Oh, so you have a nice gap in between there. And this works for the 17-year-old also.
It does. It does. I guess getting him to wear a hat in general, wear winter clothes is not really.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. I have teenagers too. It's like, put on a winter coat. I'm always yelling. Yeah, I'm like,
When my
always,
24-year-old, he didn't even own a coat one time, and he came over, and I was like, "What is going on? Like, where is your coat?" He's like, "I don't own one." So I'm like, "Get in the car," and we had to go buy one. But he wears shorts, and it's like -5 degrees, and he's shoveling the driveway.
Yes, shorts and Crocs and hoodies are not like 50-degree weather. Like they're not winter clothes. They're like 50 maybe, but when it gets to like snow, you can't wear your Crocs through the snow.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm gonna
Well,
pull
thank you for
everyone
having me.
up, and we can give the watchers a proper goodbye and thank everybody for coming on.
I'd also like to say if anybody has any questions really quickly before we do, end this conversation about this virus, or if you have anything that you'd like to chime in and let us know maybe something that worked for you. We're all open. We're all open to listening, to hearing it. You can drop it in the comments. You can inbox either my page or Mommy Missy's page. You know what I mean? So just kind of let us know if you've been through it and your experience was completely different. We're interested in hearing about it, making sure that you contact, Dr. Nick also for any questions that you might have. You can do that also.
Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Duchek for the knowledge of the virus and of different remedies. And if you would like to contact his services, we did have his name and number, and I will add that into the description of this cast. So you can get in contact with him, or you can inbox me or Miss Elaine, Lovely Elaine. I do want to thank Marina for coming on tonight and telling us her story, and I wish her the best. And I love her dearly, and I'm sorry that she wasn't feeling well, but she had to go. I'm going to thank Jenny for coming on about her products, and her description and a link to her Etsy site and Facebook page will be in the description of the video. And thank you for making it through all of our technical difficulties for the first 10 minutes of the show. I do want to say a special note to those suffering and that have had suffered with this virus, and is in watching somebody who is suffering, that you are getting, if you're a religious person, prayers for me, good thoughts, warm thoughts, positive thoughts. And if you need help, please reach out, because you're not alone out there. There are a lot of people that can help. We are here for you. I also want to mention before we leave for the night, and we're over time wise, but I am doing a toy drive for local families. If you know somebody that is just struggling financially and doesn't want to, doesn't know how they're going to be there for their kids this Christmas, please get in contact with me for donations that we can help.
How do you want them to contact you, Missy?
You can contact me either through Facebook, or you can contact me. I'll put in the description, Missy, Missy, Lee, Lea 001 at gmail.com. If you have toys that you would like to donate, the drop-off site is going to be RG Natural Babies at 430 Main Street in Racine. And I think that's all we needed to get out.
I do want to invite any mom that is watching this to join Bad Moms Do It Better. It's basically just an uplifting group. And it's a lot of fun. And you get to hear me talk a lot of junk from time to time, which is a lot of fun also. At least my kids think it is, But yeah, definitely, it's called Bad Moms Do It Better.
Yes. I met you after I joined or before I joined with Julian and doing his yard work business. Her son has helped me. I love everyone out there. Please be safe. You are not alone, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.